You help them figure what they want out of life, but you know everything can come with a price. Want to maximize your money and
Welcome
time.
back to another episode of Uncommon Advice, where we talk business, marketing, and money. We got some good information for you today that we're excited to dive into. Zenon, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I mean, as you can tell, got my, I would say my Miami fit on. My shirt, the watch, the shoes. No, I just had to dress up nice, you know. Got to impress the people watching. So.
Is that a rollie?
No, we're not there yet. Amazon, baby, Amazon.
Funny. So today, let's kick it right off, man.
Let's build $1 million audiences.
Yeah,
exactly.
There we go.
Yeah, so basically, building is that's our thing here, right? It's building $1 million audiences, and we want to actually get into one that 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, we launched it.
Yeah, so we are constantly trying to build audiences for brands that serve people, right? And one of the audiences that we identified that we're building is a brand called Financial Maverick. We just kicked it off. It's in the financial space. So we're excited about that. It's a good space to be in. We've got a lot of subscribers that we know that we can bring over and kind of build that with over time, and people that are interested in the content based on the polls that we're doing in there. So $1 million audiences, we talk a lot about that because I'm a firm believer. I've been in the marketing space for a very long time, and ancient, been through many evolutions of different marketing tactic strategies, and some tactics have come back full circle. And the one key thing that I've learned over the years is that building the audience and owning the audience is by far one of the most important pieces of your business, right? So even if you have a product, you still want to own that audience. You don't want to always have to rely on ad networks and different things to bring them back. So super important to make sure that you own that audience. One way to do that is through email. So for us, knowing that is the most important piece, if we own the audience, we can figure out offers, right? A lot of people are so focused on growing offers and building offers. Like, we just want to own the audience, so they want to come over and check that out and get access to it. So Financial Maverick being one of them.
Exactly, guys. So if you want to subscribe, just go to www.financialmaverick.com. But going on to it, people are going to ask us, well, how are you growing this? You're not throwing ad dollars behind it. We're not doing this. Well, it goes back to what Nate just said. We've built already $1 million audiences that we're already tapping into to grow another $1 million audience before going and having to invest money into ad spends and stuff like that. So Nate, I just want to go here and throw some numbers out there so people see. Guys, this has been 10 days. I consider this my baby. Nate built out the website, so we got to give him credit for it, right? But I consider this my baby. I've been working on it, writing it up, the designing, having fun with it, right? But just to give some data here real quick, in 10 days, I'd probably say, we've had 1,642 subscribers. Our open rate's sitting already over 40%. Click-through rate's at 11%. And 94% of subscribers say they love it. They love it. They love the information that's being provided to them. Because you got to imagine, right? When you are building these newsletters, a lot of people when they wake up in the morning, they're not jumping in, or they don't want to the first thing they do is turn on the TV to see the stock market or see what's trending in the financial market. It's simple. Financial Maverick comes into your email. You look at it. You see what the topics there are, right? We link them out to other places. And we give you the latest news, the trends, the personal finances. We give it to you right there. You don't have to do work. Just open the email. So Financial Maverick really is something that it's going to grow. And I think you give us 4 or 5 months, we'll probably 100x those numbers.
Yeah, and I think two things. This segment that we're talking about, we want our subscribers, our listeners to understand, like, we're in the trenches. As a company, we're in the trenches. We do this to be able to distill that information out and help other entrepreneurs and business owners and provide the business marketing, money, tactics, and stuff we learn here. So we're going to update. We're going to have a segment on the Uncommon Advice podcast here where we update the different information and products and, audiences that we're building and the things that we're doing. The good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, all that good stuff, right? We're going to do all that. Now, I want to jump back, though. You mentioned 94% of people love our podcast, because I'm very guru math conscious, right? Guru math. Normally, it's like, hey, how much did you make? You multiply it by 18 and add 10. And then that's the number they come up with. But anyways, 94% actually, one thing that we do is you want engagement inside of your newsletters and your audiences that you're building. So what Zenon's talking about when he says that 94% is the people that have taken a poll. So we put a poll to engage people. Are we hitting the mark? Do you like what's going on here? Do you like, was this good? Was this not? Was it helpful? Was it not? And Z's got that poll going in there. 94% response rate is positive.
Oh,
and they're loving it. And that's why we've got high engagement. And that's why we've got high click-through rates, because we're creating super valuable information and content and for them along the way, and engaging and with humor to it and different, processes. So to make it that way. It wasn't like we just said, hey, we want to launch a newsletter and we're going to go just throw content out. There's a lot of thought process behind it, sitting in the war room, in a conference room, kind of like, how are we going to do this? What's it going to look like? And as he said, it is his baby. So he's been really diving in and making it better and cranking it. So we're excited to give you updates on this going forward, along with other brands that we're building and audiences that we're growing. So you kind of see what we're learning along the process.
Yeah, and for those thinking out there that poll is not at the beginning of the newsletter. That poll, someone needs to literally scroll completely through the newsletter to get to that poll. And if 94% of the people scrolling through that newsletters are clicking it and are voting that, yes, they love the newsletter, that means they're going through the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's not the first thing they see. It's like, oh, do you like this newsletter, before you even see anything else, right? So it's like we're making sure the client's engaged. They're seeing everything. They're scrolling through. But then they get to that poll and they're voting. So that poll reassures us as a company, is like, okay, people are taking their time to go through the newsletter and then voting, other than just like, we don't have that just stuck up top and people can just click on it and okay, we're out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so like Nate said, we'll keep you guys updated, right? We're going to have some good times. There are going to be times we'll probably come up here and say, oh, we ran into a wall. But yeah, we'll keep this going. This is going to be this segment's going to be fun. Building $1 million audiences.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited.
Let's get it going. But jumping on to the next topic, Nate, is a topic that I think every business owner. Well, let's put it this way: every business owner, entrepreneur, everybody that wants to do something big in life, right? They need a hive. They need to have. One of them is your mindset. The other one is your network. And
let's take mindset. So, and not just mindset, because mindset, man, you can get real funky with mindset, and people can get kind of like, if you think it will happen. And, that's really not what I mean by mindset. For me, it's a growth mindset. And it needs to be, so for example, there's a saying out there, improve yourself 1% every day. And sometimes that people take that way too literal, right? And they're like, how do I improve 1% every day? It's more of a lifestyle. It's more of a change that you make. And it's a way that you operate within your days. You're wanting to learn, you're wanting to grow. And I think having a growth mindset, being specific about what growth means to you, is what's super important, right? As opposed to, you just got to have the right mindset. Well, what does that mean? Like, correct. The right mindset to some people is a lot of different, it could mean a lot of different things. And so a growth mindset means you're willing to grow, you're willing to humble yourself to actually listen and grow, right? Because you might get advice from somebody that may just rock your world, and maybe at the time you take it personal and you get upset about it because you don't want to face reality and realize you're that way, but happens to be a moment in time that becomes a pivot point for you. And that growth, being able to be humble enough to receive feedback so you can grow as well. So there's a lot that goes into it in this process of a growth mindset, not just mindset, but a growth mindset, which is the only way you're going to get to where you want to go. Yeah,
and I think a big part also that plays a role is the negative mindset. I think negative mindset I feel comes from, I don't think you have it, I think you learn it. I think negative mindset you see nowadays, social media. We were actually talking about it earlier, right? You have these people, if you don't have this by the age of 25, you'll never have it, you're a failure. So you're basically already instilling negative mindset into yourself if you're believing in that stuff. But it's also, we talked about it earlier again, it's who you surround yourself with, right? Mm-hmm. You can't surround yourself with negative people, because you soak it in, right? Mm-hmm. It just becomes, you got to have positivity, right? And then you always have to see, right? Something goes wrong, you always have to see the positive of it. Okay, hey, we failed here, but this is the positive. This is what we learned, right? So a growth mindset is very important. I think anybody that wants to do anything successful or anything you want to do, you have to have that mindset, because a lot of us have to learn basically whatever we want to do. It's just, it doesn't come out of it. So
yeah, and a growth mindset, it leads to more money, more time, and most importantly, more fun along the way, because you're willing to enjoy the process, right? And know that you're not perfect and you're not going to, make all the right decisions. You're going to grow from the things that you do, and you're going to look at it in that manner. So it makes it more fun. And frankly, it's critical for success of businesses over time. And, the thing is, with the growth mindset is the time it's, so one thing is, in a growth mindset, there is a time when I actually lost everything. I've talked about it on previous podcasts. I don't need to kind of reiterate it, but I lost financially everything, and I also lost my ego, and I lost a bunch of stuff along the way in that process. But there was a time there, and the reason that I lost everything, and I'm a firm believer in this, was because I stopped growing. I started believing that I knew everything. And so I stopped trying to learn. I stopped trying to get better. And that is when I stopped looking at what was going on around me, because I didn't need to. I knew everything. I had it. That's what happens when I guess I was 27, 28 at the time. So you got some years, don't go learn from my mistakes. But, the growth mindset, it was after that moment, I actually had that pinpoint moment of like, wait a minute, I need to be learning. And that's when, after losing everything, I rebuilt really, really fast, because I was like, I just became very humble and said, I got to learn. How do I grow? How do I get better? And it's been a constant evolution. And now you're not going to always be in a growth mindset. You're going to have times where you fall back and you're not focused on that. There's going to be seasons in life where maybe you might not be focused on the growth, but you're focused on another piece. But it's always coming back to that at some point in time and looking at what can I grow? How can I grow from this? And at least always realize that you're not in a growth, that you got to be able to like recognize it so you can come back to it and not fall into the trap of thinking you know everything and then ultimately lose everything.
I mean, and at this point in time of my life, I'm in a growth mindset. I mean, I'm always asking questions. I'm listening. I'm trying to learn as much as possible. But right, I'm young, so I have to be. But Nate, but for someone new who's had this success and has all this, are you yourself, are you still in that growth mindset? Are you still trying to grow and learn, or are you basically like, I got it all, I've done it all, I'm good to go? No,
I'm in it. I'm in the growth mindset. I haven't. Two things is, one, I don't feel like I've done enough.
Okay.
And I don't feel like I've accomplished much of anything really. And I think you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, they'll say that same thing. That they haven't, because we always kind of drive for that next piece, right? And what's the next goal? And now I've got some very specific kind of like impact legacy goals I'm working on, and I'm not close to them. I'm nowhere near to them. And so I haven't done enough yet. So I have to be growing. I know the person I am not the person I need to be right now to reach that legacy and put those goals that I've got. I'm not that person yet. So with that, making that shift in mindset, knowing like, all right, here's who I need to be to reach this, allows me to keep that growth mindset.
Correct. And guys, and before we jump into the next part of it, don't like I said earlier, don't be on social media listening to these people, right? They all had a different path and journey. They all had a different they had a different mindset, right? They're telling you it was easy maybe to catch your attention, or telling you this. Now, everything takes time. Everything takes a skill you got to learn. Everything takes a growth mindset, because if you don't have it, you're not going to get there, right? You have all these people in the world that you go on social, like I said earlier, you go on social media and there's like, oh, you have this and this and this. It's like, yeah, but one, either they're lying to you, they're just trying to get some likes and some followers, or they do have it, but it's not as easy as they're saying it is. So that's that there. But
well, on social, we got to always keep it 100 on that. Like it's all for the gram, right? I literally, one of our folders for content creation is called All for the Gram. You're only going to get the highlight reel. And when you get that highlight reel, that doesn't mean life is perfect. You don't see the struggles and the steps that they go through to get to where they're at and stuff like that a lot of times. So there's a lot of bumps along the way. And when you only see the highlight reel, it's very easy to compare yourself to that highlight reel, thinking, man, I'm inferior. I haven't done what I need to. This person's doing so much. But, man, you don't know where they're really at. You don't know what skeletons are in their closet, what demons they're facing, and the things they're going through at the end of the day. You only see some of the happy moments. You know what I mean? Like, you don't ever see some of the challenges along the way. So, I mean, it's good to get motivation from the highlight reel, but it's very detrimental to compare yourself to the highlight reel.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That hit deep. That hit deep. But Nate, real quick, what would you say to someone who is maybe has a negative mindset right now or doesn't know how to get into that growth mindset? What would you say a couple things, maybe one or two things that you say is like, this is what I did that helped me mentally get there?
So if I find myself not growing, not motivated and all that stuff, what I'm usually doing is getting on a phone call with somebody that I know. There's a few people I know that I've got on speed dial that I can call, and I will get a pick me up, right? Like we'll have conversations that's big thinking. And when you get that big thinking and then you realize, oh man, I gotta go, I gotta move, I gotta learn. And so there's that. And frankly, for me, a couple other things I do. One is, for me, fitness is going to the gym, getting a workout in is usually my time. But one tactic I use when I feel like I'm not thinking properly or I'm not growing, I go on a 3 to 4 mile walk. I don't run. I'm not built for running. I'm built for short distance. It used to be speed. Now it's slow speed. But I think for me, I'll go for long walks in neighborhoods, unless I'm at the beach. And that to me, it's just time, no headphones, nothing. It's just time to think. It's time to really like analyze what's going on and reflect. And I always come back at the end of those. A lot of times I start those walks like at a negative mindset. And by the time and I'm constantly thinking about all the things going on in my life and what I got to do and everything else. By the time I get home, I'm having like big thoughts and growth and things that we can do. And it's more of an excitement by the end of the walk. So that's another thing that I do.
So alone time, peace time, quiet time is something that gets you going.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. Try it out. See if that's it. If not, hey, find something that will help you get that growth mindset. But the next thing you need a skill set. So,
well, real quick though, I want to step back to on another thing that's important on. I want to talk about on the growth mindset side.
Oh, okay.
So losses, a lot of times when we take losses, that'll crush people, right? They feel like, hey, I took a loss and I'm not good enough. I'm not going to get where I'm at. Right. But here's the thing. And then these people say this thing is called, you got wins and lessons. You got wins and lessons. And, it usually makes me laugh because you lost, right? You flat out lost. And in life we lose. And many times in life I've taken L's, and the key is what happens is they are when people say that, what they're doing is ignoring the loss instead of absorbing that loss and using that loss for fuel to never let that loss happen again. What happens is in life, you have wins and you have losses. And then the way that you handle that loss determines where you're going to go from there. Right. So a loss, for me personally, when I lose, I get really mad. I start reflecting on what I could do better. What can I do the next phase going forward if I'm ever in that scenario again to make sure that I win, right? Because I like to win. I don't like to lose. And I don't know anyone that's competitive that likes to lose. But I focus on the wins. When you're focusing on it, accept that you lost, right? Don't just act like, oh, it was okay. It was a lesson. No, man, you can let it eat at you for a little bit to drive motivation and grow, change your mindset to get better. But use the things that you can do better next time so you don't lose next time. So the key in the game of business, right? Just like, so sports can be very like, it's numbers, it's binary, it's 1-1, right? 1 point, 1 point. In the game of business, a win doesn't necessarily hold the same weight as a loss. It actually tends to weigh more, right? So the key is you may have less wins than you have losses. But do your wins outweigh the losses that you've had? And at the end of the day, are you in the positive win column when it comes down to it? That's the real big, kind of goal. So growth mindset, if you understand, I think that's an important piece to reflect on when you're going through this process. Mm-hmm. People that tell you, oh, you got wins and lessons. Well, you got wins, losses, and then the lessons that come from those losses and those wins.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you said it pretty good. I mean, I think youth sports and nothing against youth sports. I coach youth sports. Me and Nate do, both of us. We coach in the spring, we coach in the fall. We're on youth sports all the time. But one thing is youth sports, I think, is one of the big things that there's no loss. It's you win and you get a participation trophy. Here you go. Hey, you didn't lose. You participated. It's like, no, you lost. I mean, it happens, right? So I think that's also how the growing up phase. You got to learn that as you're young, you're never really taught you lost. You're taught you won, or you got that participation trophy, which didn't make you really feel like I didn't lose. Like it's not you didn't get anything. You always got a trophy. Oh, I got a trophy. How many trophies do you think people have in their houses of just saying you participated?
Yeah.
It's nothing winning. So I think that plays a big factor too. And as people grow up, is some people do learn, but some people don't learn how to lose.
Yeah,
and it affects them their mindset a lot.
Yeah, I had a trophy shelf growing up as a kid. My brother
Was it
and
all
I
participation
did.
trophies?
No, there are a lot. I wrestled, so I was in a lot of wrestling matches, and then in the other sports I had that I earned trophies at. But I had more trophies than I had wins up there. Right? I had where I took first place in wrestling tournaments, and then I had trophies where I took first loser and second loser. So, I think it's in life, you're going to win or you're going to lose. And in youth sports, I feel like we're making the pendulum swinging back. The pendulum is starting to swing back, at least as I see it as my kids get older.
Correct.
And the stuff that we're competing in in the Champions football program, it's like these kids they're winning, they're losing, and they're learning how to get better so they don't lose again the next time they see that team. You know what I mean? So it's, I think the pendulum's starting to swing back. I think so.
So yeah, they're learning how to handle their losses. So I think that's a big thing. But let's jump into the other thing. An entrepreneur, a business owner needs to be successful. And I think it's a skill set. You need to have some certain skill set. I don't care what it is. If it's a skill set of just talking like I'm doing, you need to have a skill set, because if you don't have a skill set, then what are you doing?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of skill sets that we need.
Correct.
But I kind of broke it down. I want to talk about, just highlight 4 that I think are super important. And one is copywriting / storytelling. And I'm not the best at it. And I try to get better at it, but storytelling and copywriting, influence with words, is very, very important, especially in the age that we are in today with this online environment and the creator economy and all this content that's being pushed out. If you can tell better stories and write better copy, it's a skill that is worth developing.
Nate, I can help you out with that. Chat GPT.
Well, no. So let's not insult copywriters who've dedicated their craft. It can give you a good baseline, but at the same time, you still need someone who's really, really good at, that's a wordsmith, right? On the copywriting side. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a very important skill set to know. And ChatGPT, OpenAI can help you kind of do the heavy lifting, and then for you to massage it and mold it, make it better. So I think that's one important piece. Another one skill that is super important that I think gets overlooked is the thirst for knowledge. And a lot of times we don't try to learn new things. We kind of we know what we know. Yeah, we might have a growth mindset. We're trying to, doing other things, but like the thirst for knowledge of your craft. If whatever your craft is, whatever you do, like the thirst to get better. Like when people come in here over all these years that I've owned companies, one thing I've always said to people when I do hire them is, when you leave here, at some point, if you leave here, I hope you leave more knowledgeable than you came in. And I'm going to give you the tools and resources and things that are going to equip you to be better when you go on to the next venture, right? If that's the case. And I want to make sure that people have access to the training courses and the things like that. So there's no plethora. I've spent at least $100,000 over the years on courses and trainings that I have access to. So I always throw that out there, and those can be used. So thirst to knowledge is super important, right?
Yeah. So Nate, going back real quick before we jump into the next one, you said you mentioned courses and stuff. Is there maybe 1 or 2 courses you would recommend someone for that thirst of knowledge that has that thirst of knowledge that they can start looking at?
And I mean, it's a tough question, right? Because it's a tough question because it depends what they're doing.
Correct.
Right. But I mean, frankly, thirst of knowledge can be as simple as going to YouTube and Googling your craft and figuring out how to get better at it. I mean, if it's editing videos, if it's, if it's, anything really,
Yeah,
whatever it is. I just met a guy at a dinner the other night, and I'm so used to I like to leapfrog, right? So like when I want to go learn something, I'm gonna go pay somebody for their course or their the knowledge in their head to get that information faster. And I met a guy the other night it's a 7-figure business. And we're at dinner, we're talking. I'm like, well, who'd you learn all this stuff from, and how'd you get into the industry? He's in he sells stuff on Amazon, right? And I thought it was really cool because he was like, YouTube. And I was like, and I know guys in the e-com space that are like doing some cool stuff. I was like, I'm looking to ask him, well, this guy might be able to help you. This might get right. Mm-hmm. And but no, man, he's like, it's all been just learning and going to these resources that are out there. So the key is, are you just being resourceful enough to get it right? Or do you have that thirst for knowledge to be able to go get it? And he's, basically from nothing has built a 7-figure company out of just thirst for knowledge.
Yeah, YouTube is basically an educational platform.
Yep.
There's a lot of videos, knowledge that you can pull out of it. And I'm in the stage of thirst for knowledge right now. It's like whatever he says sinks in, basically. And if it doesn't sink in, I ask him a bunch of questions, and he just stares at me like, you can't ask me that many questions. Except one. There's only one thing that hasn't sunk in yet. Can't build more than one. You got to build more than one audience. Oh, yeah. So I do have a thing where I'm not saying the S. I'm saying audience and not audiences. So we're working on it. We'll get there. That's something we're working on.
So the next thing here too, though, once you have the thirst of knowledge, another skill set to have is the ability to execute. You have to execute at a high level, and if you don't, because we can learn all the stuff we want, but if we don't execute on it and learn it and figure it out, like it's irrelevant to us. It's like ideas, right? Everyone's like, oh, I had $1 million idea, but I saw someone else did it. Yeah, it's because they executed, you didn't. And so I think execution is a skill set in itself, right?
And I think that's where entrepreneurs get stuck. It's the execution phase. It's like they have all these, like you just said, they have all these ideas and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, but they don't do it. Mm-hmm. And they make 100 excuses why they don't do it. I can't do it because I don't have time. I work another job. Or I can't do it because I don't have the money. I do this. Or I can't do it because I don't have the tools. It's like you're just filling yourself with excuses. But at the end of the day, like you said, be resourceful. Go find someone to help you. Find time. instead of getting on the couch and watching TV or sitting up in your room on the computer playing games and stuff, that's the time we should be doing it. So
no more Survivor reruns?
No, you see, you can do Survivor, but yeah. So that's a big play, I think, on it.
So I think the final skill set that I think, it's skill trait that you learn that's super important. And all the other stuff's kind of tactics stuff, right? When you get into like the fine niche stuff that you're doing inside your business. But like another skill set super important is thick skin. And I don't know if that's quite a skill set, but I guess a better way of putting it is confidence in yourself, right? Because if you have a thirst for knowledge, you're gaining the information. So you have to have confidence that you're actually going to execute at the right time. And there's going to be people that criticize you along the way, and you're going to make mistakes. And the question is, are you going to listen to them? And so I would recommend not listening and just have confidence in yourself to know, hey, you know what? I screwed that up, but I took an L. But here's what I'm going to do next time so it doesn't happen again, right? And so you build more confidence as you do things. And we do this with sports, right? With the kids. It's like we know that kids, the more reps they get and the more they do, the more confidence they build. There's a lot of times kids that we have on our teams and we're like, man, kid's really, really good. He just needs to have confidence in himself. And so we try and build that confidence in them, right? And we know once they get that confidence, you're like, that's what we knew you could do on the field, right? You just have the confidence to do it.
Correct. There's also people out there that never get there. Mm-hmm. They never get that thick skin, or they're never able to build confidence there. Mm-hmm. I've seen it. There's, like you said, there's kids, but I've seen it in the world where someone that has potential to be something or is very knowledgeable, but he doesn't feel like he is. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the confidence. Listen, one thing I've always understood, you're right or you're wrong, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. Guess what? People out there are not going to agree with you, so you're going to be wrong to them, and there's people that are going to agree and they're going to be right to them. So it's like you just got to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
So that plays a big role, confidence, and then thick skin. You got to be able to take it. You got it. You have to be able to take it because, man, if you don't have thick skin, I don't think the business world is for you.
So there's a rap line, and it goes along the lines of, some people call me cocky. I'm not cocky. I'm confident. Think about it. When they announce the winner, they're going to say my name, right? and so there's a fine line between cocky and confidence, but you got to be confident enough that you can go out there and execute and win.
Yeah. Is it possible we can get that with like a beat in the background with Nate on it? Just put a beat and have him just roll on it. Over here, Eminem reviving, baby. Yeah. But yeah, those are a couple things that I would say for the skill set that you need. But jumping into the next one, which
a new segment that we're bringing to Uncommon Advice,
the roast.
The roast. So, hey, the roast is something, if you're listening right now, the roast is we will have a page up. And on that page, you'll be able to go ahead and submit your marketing campaigns to us. We call it the roast, but if it's good, we'll tell you it's good. If it's bad, we'll tell you it's bad. But no matter what happens, we're going to give you tips and strategies to make it better. And but on the first roast, we're actually going to talk about a campaign. So some will be listener submitted, subscriber submitted that we actually review. And sometimes it'll be big campaigns that just happened in the world with different bigger companies. And for example, the one that we're going to talk about today is the recent Bud Light new influencer campaign.
Well, Nate, before we get into that, I just want to say I think I don't know what I won't say Bud Light's regretting it, but if you look at their numbers, they've taken an impact. So I'm going to read out some numbers here real quick. So in the market cap,
we'll talk a little bit about what the campaign was.
Oh, well, in the campaign, they went into this movement where we all know they supported another group, the transgender group, the LGBTQ community. And the other side, I would say, wasn't too happy about it. Didn't support the strategy behind it, on how they came out and who the influencers they brought in to help, I guess I would say, promote the brand. But
yeah, so things in our world, there's if you watch media, things that can be very polarizing, right? It's always like them versus us and that us versus them kind of thing, and so that's where I think this campaign took Bud Light is into this realm of a battle of the media sides, right? So it's kind of interesting to see what with this campaign, when you break down the data, short term, it looks like a loss. Long term, you don't know, right? And so it'll be interesting to see where it goes long term. But on the data side right now, I mean, go ahead and break it down.
Well, so market cap, since the whole campaign, April 8th, I think it was, 2 weeks, $4.5 billion was lost. That's how much they dropped. Their sales last week dropped 30%. And in the articles, in the news, everywhere, you're hearing that everyone wants to drop them. Like, all the stores don't want to work with them. They're upset. The distributors who do have the Bud Light sitting on the shelf, it's like nobody's buying them. Mm-hmm. So this whole thing is going on, and I know we're not going to get into the whole political thing about it, but the whole thing is about the strategy. The strategy for me doesn't make sense, and the reason it doesn't make sense is because I felt like Bud Light's audience was, right, those, I would say, the right side, more towards the right side. I would say like let's put an example, NASCAR, probably. The NASCAR fans, that's a big Bud Light. That's an audience. That's a Bud Light audience, I would say. I would say the fishermen, those kind of people, I would say they sit in the Bud Light audience. So I feel like either they wanted to get a new audience or the campaign just didn't make sense for me of why they did it, because it's not the target audience that we all know.
Well, a lot of their campaigns have targeted you've gotten used to Bud Light and Budweiser creating campaigns that were specific audience driven, right?
Correct.
And so this is their first time really, I think, going maybe that I've seen that they went the complete opposite of who they had been marketing to previously, right? So strategy wise, it was a big risk. There's a whole other side of it as well too, right? Think about how many campaigns, millions and millions of campaigns, hundreds of millions of views probably, that have turned and spawned off from this one campaign Bud Light did. Look at all the TikTok videos that have gone on, the reels, like all this other content, and that has spawned off from just that one campaign that people are doing. So there are influencers that are growing their audiences based on just that one marketing campaign alone. So like a whole subsegment is being created, which is pretty wild.
they brought in an influencer to basically, I guess, grow the brand. I would say on the other side, right, on that LGBTQ community. But have you seen the influencers that are leaving Bud Light now? So it's like you brought in one, but you're losing a lot. And then I throw an example: John Rich. He came out and put an article. Hey, I removed all Bud Light from my Nashville restaurant. He removed it all. He literally took it all. He said, my audience doesn't want it. I don't want it. So I'm going to remove it. So John Rich, being a known country artist, he has his influencers. He's an influence to other people that he can reach now that he's saying he doesn't drink Bud Light for this reason. So now he's going to go away for it. Now, guess what? His people are probably going to be like, yeah, me neither. Right? So you're basically growing one to lose another. I feel like that's what's happening. And we've talked about this back and forth on how this might play out. We think we both thought it's not going to play out. We thought it's definitely going to take a hit, and I really want to see what Bud Light's really going to do to.
Yeah, well, the question is, what is Bud Light? What's their next move? Once the dust settles, what's that next move? Will be interesting to see how this pans out. But short term, it's a clear loss on bottom line. Long term, time will tell. But I think more importantly, we got to cancel this cancel culture. You know what I mean? You got so many things where like both sides are trying to cancel something they don't agree with. And it's like, so my question is, the people that are really mad at Bud Light, will they be drinking Bud Light in 30 days? I know people that canceled Disney are now watching Disney.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? So like there's these things that have happened in the world. So it's like the question is, so time will tell. So is it a short-term win or a long-term win for Coors and Miller and all them? We'll see too. Time will tell. So
Nate, I got a question for you. So what do you think? Bud Light, is it a roast or is it a yay or nay?
Oh man, I think with all the data up front, if you were looking at it strictly on a revenue front, it was a bad call. Short term. It was a. What about you?
I think so too. I think it's short term, and like you said, the long term it's gonna be right. People right now are mad and they say things. Oh, we'll never bring Bud Light, or I won't drink Bud Light for years, and all this. But you're right. You don't know the future, but I also think it's gonna make an impact in the long term.
We all can have expansive networks, but I think one thing that's super important is circle of influence. Who are you going to let in the circle that's going to have influence on you, right? And influence, and who are you going to look to have a positive influence on you? So I think circle of influence is super important, because in that circle of influence, there's going to be times it can only be so big, because eventually as you grow, someone's going to drop out and be replaced with someone who's at a higher level in that circle of influence. It's just the evolution of how it's going to work. And it's not a bad thing. It's not, I don't mean to sound negative or mean when I say that, but like your circle of influence will change over time. And the key is, are you okay with that? Because sometimes you'll see they want to stay with their circle of influence because it's like, I've done this. I've got some close friends that I've known for a long time, and I still talk to them consistently. I still communicate with them and talk to them, but a lot of times they're not the ones that I'm going to when it comes to business growth. I'm not going to them. Now there's somebody's I got that I've known for a long time that know me really well, and they're great dads, and they're in that kind of that dad circle of influence, right? Yeah. Maybe not on the business side. So I think you have different segments as well.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing with network is a lot of people think network is they always have to give you something. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the best relationships in networks are built when it's just a genuine relationship where it's always a giving. You're giving, right? They're giving, you're giving. You're not asking. I feel that's a big mistake that people see in the world is you think these people owe you something or they got to give you something, or it's like, no, it's like the best relationships come when it's just genuine, when it's like you can sit down like me and you can sit down and shoot the shit basically in football and this and that because it's genuine, right? Mm-hmm. It's not we're not going back for us. What can you give me? What can I give you? And you've been a big point of this, and we've talked about this before. It's like you've always been a giving person. Like you hate asking, and that's one thing I've talked to you. Well, we've talked about, but it's true though. But you've grown this network. You have a massive network, and you've grown it in different areas, right? A lot of people think you got to go to a conference, you got to do this, but you've grown it through mastermind groups, other relationships. So that plays a big role, and I feel like stop always expecting, and just give. It'll come. Just give.
Give without expectations. And one thing that I'm learning along what you said is I hate asking, but and this was reiterated to me earlier today on a call, but it's being able to receive. It's very tough sometimes to be able to receive. We're always so quick to give, but we also have to be willing to listen to receive. And when that was said to me earlier today, that kind of really hit home. I was like, yeah, I'm not very good at that.
Like receiving knowledge from other people?
Like being able to receive it. Like I'll listen and like take advice, but sometimes I'm so fast to give that I'm so fast to give and help that I don't take the time to let people give back.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm good at giving. I'm not good at sitting there to let people give back. Right. Which is the receiving side.
Yeah.
So we're so quick to give, but sometimes we're very slow to receive. So
yeah, I mean, that's
receive and take are two different things, by the way. You know,
there you go. We're breaking it down for you guys. But going on to this network, guys, there's a lot of places where you could build your network, right? I'll be honest. I didn't build my network from going to trade shows. I didn't build my network from joining different mastermind groups or groups. I built my network literally from one place, and it's called Lake Norman Giants football.
Circle of influence.
Started coaching there. I made a great connection with who used to be the president there, Brandon McElhack. Went with him to a company. He helped me grow. One day I walk into this office with Nate, and that opportunity shined. It was a network that I built with Nate, right, through Champions Football, Nate. So it's basically involving yourself in these different, I would say, pockets, right? People think it's like, oh, those people are too old for me. They don't want to talk to me. Or those people are too young. It's like, I think I can be Nate's son, basically, if we speak on it.
Well,
so I don't think
your dad's only 2 years older than me.
Correct. So you see, it's like I don't think
I had kids late.
Exactly. So I don't think it plays like I don't think age or none of that plays in it. It's just going out there and putting yourself in these pockets. And again, it didn't cost me a single dollar. All it cost was time, effort. I showed up every day on that, and it's got me to where I am today, and I'm very excited about it. And it all came down to networking, which I think is, I would say, probably one of my number one skill sets. But hey, we're wrapping up. We're here towards the end. Guys, real quick, make sure to like, subscribe, watch our podcast here on YouTube. Hey, we also are going to we're on all platforms now. Spotify, Apple, all the other platforms.
So what we got? We got the bro code.
The
bro code.
Bro code and the woman code. We got two codes,
right?
We
got two codes. Two codes. Is to, you know what? Like, comment, share, put that out there. We're taking our time, energy, and value to kind of dish this value out and kind of help you grow and with the growth mindset. So do us a favor.
Yep.
Share.
Do it, guys. Guys, make sure we're working on the page for the roast to get that up and running. But for the meantime, if you do have a strategy or something in place, two things you can do. You can comment down below on the YouTube channel and say, hey, I want you to check out my strategy. Or you can send us a direct message at Uncommented Advice, and we can take a look at it there for you, and let's get this stuff rolling. But I thought it was a fun one. Till next time, guys.
Hey, wanna get rich, might have to take the uncommon.